Hopefully this is going to work.
Oh, just got to flip your camera around. Ah,
There we go.
hello. It's
Hello.
lovely to see you again. Are you okay?
And you.
Ah, lovely. Well, just for a little bit of background, we've already got people watching, which is amazing. Thank you very much for joining, which is lovely. My name's Jenna. I'm an online primary tutor, and I know lovely Maz and her family through my original home ed group lessons. And we actually chatted before about home education at the very beginning of your journey. It seems ages ago now, really.
It
But
does. Feels like a lifetime ago.
quite different. So I messaged Maz to see what if you'd be interested in chatting about what it's like now, because obviously you've gained so much knowledge since. So let's go back to then your children were originally in school, and what was the initial kind of inkling that things weren't quite right and you were considering home education?
I think um I think I've only really admit this in the last month or so. We've been craving home ed since lockdown. So lockdown hit as Sophia started school. I think it was the second lockdown actually that she started schooling. And it just felt like I dropped her off at school and I'd lost my daughter. That's how I felt. And I just, there's loads of other parents surrounding me that were like dead excited about the kids starting school. And it is like a huge moment, your kids going to school. But I just felt like that was it. She's got a uniform on, she's off to school, and that's it. I'm not going to be seeing her like 9 till 3, Monday to Friday. And then it's not just 9 till 3, Monday to Friday, is it? It's the homework and the expectation that comes with being a parent with a child at school. And I do think that from that moment, I felt like there was something missing. Um, Nige was very much the same, but we were very much just accepting, like, well, this is life. You have kids, they go to school, that's what you do. And then Sophia wasn't in the easiest of classes. Quite a few behavioural issues. I'm not going to go into obviously the system because I think everyone knows what the system's like. Um, and we just felt like we could offer her so much more at home. Didn't really think home education was a thing until what made us look into it. I think I met another family. We'd gone on a walk and I met another family, and Sophia was meant to be off ill, and she wasn't ill. She just wanted to be off school, and we decided let's go for a walk. And I thought, I wonder why they're off school as well. And I got talking to the mum, and she said, "Oh, we home educate," and I was like, "Oh, that's like a thing." And then I started looking into it, and that was back in Sophia was year 1, so still very early days because it was only year 3 that she started home educating. And then we sort of sat on it for a year, carried on sort of like researching. We're very apprehensive about what family would think about it, so we just sort of sat on it. And then the class situation didn't really get any better despite me and other parents raising things. And then in the end of year 2, there was a few incidents. She started year 3, absolutely amazing teacher in year 3. Um, he was just phenomenal, everything you could ask for in a teacher. And he just said to me at her first parents' evening, she's so bright, she's so talented, and she just deserves so much more. He's like, I'm just going to be honest with you, she just deserves so much more. Because I'd asked about the class and I'd raised my concerns. And then I think from then on, we decided to keep a diary. What have you enjoyed at school? What are you not enjoying at school? And what do you wish you could do more of at school? And then after a term, me and I sort of sat down with her and we looked at this diary and we were like, everything she's enjoying, we could address at home. Everything she's not enjoying would be taken away if she was at home. And everything that she wants to do, we easily do at the weekends anyway. So, like, why don't we just give it a go? And it was very much like overnight, yeah, we're going to do it. She's not going back to school after Christmas. Obviously, we spoke to her about it. And she was like, yeah, let me just give it a go, which we really were quite surprised at because Sophia's a very much, she's a planner. She likes to know, like, about certain things when it's happening. But she was like, yeah, let's give it a go. And we gave it a go. And here we are, Jenna, never looking back at time in school.
But I really, you told me about that before in our last chat that did that plan, and I thought that was really, really good because at the end of the day, it as much as the parents want it, it's whether the your daughter, your child reacts.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
could have pulled her out, and she might have absolutely hated it, and that
hated it. Yeah.
and they do absolutely hate it depending on the situation. But I like that idea of what do you like, what do that kind of thing. So it gives her control over her education. So what year would have that been? when you initially
So we
pulled her?
pulled her out in, she was year 3 and it was Christmas. Well, she didn't go back in the January, so we're in 2025. 2020, January 2024.
Oh, okay. Gosh, only 20. Gosh, seems ages like you've been.
Oh no, it can't, can it? Or was it January?
No, I thought it was a while. A bit
No, no, it will be, yeah, January 2024. Yeah.
really quick. So then, when you initially pulled her out, what were the initial challenges that you maybe didn't foresee when you initially took it? Like, let's go through the process. How did you pull her out of school? Like, what did you have to do?
So I spoke to the school, the her teacher.
Hmm.
He was really on board, had no issues there, and he actually said to me, I shouldn't say this, but like, you're doing the right thing. I really support what you're doing. And I just thought that was crazy coming from a school teacher. And then next step, I still do, I have a really good relationship with the school, the head teacher. And I just spoke to Stuart and I just said, look, we are considering home education. We've been considering it for a while and we would like to give it a go. Like, are you willing to support it? And I knew I didn't have to ask him permission because it's my right to be able to home educate, but I just didn't really want to sort of like put any more strain on that relationship because I still had Adam in school.
Of course.
Um, and he was just very much like, yeah, I've heard that you've been thinking about it. If it's what you want to do, I know you'll do it the best way you can. Just send me an email and we'll go from there. So I sent him an email. He informed the LA, and that was that.
And did you look for, like, because I see many parents ask on different home ed groups for like a template. So did you look for a template or did you just compose it yourself?
No, no, I literally, I mean, I know what you mean, the template. I've seen people ask for it as well, and there are templates out there. I just put, dear the head teacher, we've had a conversation about wanting to home educate Sophia. Please take this as official deregistration, and that was that.
I know it's crazy. I've said to many people I've chatted to, like, I was a teacher, and like before the lockdown, I had no idea about home education. I heard about
Mm,
these shows, about shows in America and families, like religious families who did it, but I
yeah,
didn't know any other element, and I only learned about it lockdown. And then I didn't, I thought you had to go to school, like I was always taught that, and I didn't realize, oh no, school is an opt-in. And
yeah,
even to this day, many people don't realize that it's an opt-in,
absolutely.
to go or not. They just presume as soon as your child's of school age. So then, how did Sophia adjust initially to home education?
If I'm totally honest with you, I think it was really hard on all of us initially because although she had like all this freedom, I tried to put too much structure in place to begin with because I thought that's what she would want. Um, it took me around 4 weeks, I think. I was like, this is not working. Like, we're sort of at each other's throats because she's not doing her work. Oh, we're at each other's throats. But she was very much like, well, I don't want to do this. I want to do that. And I was like, well, today it's Monday. We're doing X, Y, and Z. And then I soon realised that actually it doesn't matter. But I think that's just because we were in the system and the national curriculum stated we had to do X, Y, and Z. So I was doing X, Y, and Z, but then I've come to realise that the national curriculum isn't actually compulsory for home educating families. Um, so it was a bit of a learning curve, but I think, yeah, definitely we had too much structure to begin with for Sophia, which she struggled with. Um, and we've now got a balance of what works for everyone, which is really nice.
Mm. And you are quite proactive. So, like with our previous conversation, you are like, I remember you telling me, like, when you were part of my classes, oh, you are constantly researching, you're constantly like writing down what's been done every day, and you look
Yeah,
for the expectations. So you do stay on board, which I think is great.
absolutely. Yeah.
But also, Sophia is very self-led, isn't she?
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, she very much just gets on with it herself. If she wants to learn about something, before I've even sort of said to her, well, you've got these resources, she's on it. And I just think it's amazing. She's brilliant like that. And she's great for Adam as well because I feel as though home educating Adam has been so much easier because I feel as though he's got like a second mum in Sophia. She's like, come on, Adam, let's do phonics now. It's amazing.
Let's talk about that kind of situation then. So obviously you had Sophia, you took her out
Yeah.
of school, home educating. And then what was kind of like Adam, your youngest, like reaction to that? Did he notice? Did he wonder why Sophia was at home?
We'd explained to him that Sophia was choosing home education, and he was absolutely fine with it. He was very much like, well, I love school. I'm going to school. He just started reception in the September. So they'd done a term at school together. And we said to him, if you want to home educate, you let us know. And he's like, no, I absolutely love school, love my friends, love my teacher. We're like, okay, that's fine. You carry on with school. So he was absolutely fine while she was at school. Sorry, while she'd been pulled out.
And how was it for you, like managing both of that?
Really hard, Jenna. That was really, really hard. And I think I don't think we could have kept that up longer term because it was like we'd been given freedom with Sophia, but then we were still tied into the 9 till 3 with Adam and the school holidays. And we were like, well, we have got this freedom, but we haven't. And that was really, really hard. So I think when Adam decided, I think it was he'd finished reception, and obviously reception to year one is a massive jump.
Yeah, massive.
And I think we were secretly hoping that year one would be the time where he'd be like, oh, I don't like school anymore. And it wasn't that he didn't like school, but he actually said, I want to try home education. And he was still loving school. So we were like, right, okay, we weren't going to try and not persuade him to do it. So we're like, let's give it a go. And the difference in him now is just, I feel very fortunate that neither of my children weren't struggling at school.
Yeah.
They were really enjoying school, but I feel fortunate in the sense that they've come out of school and now I see them absolutely thriving. And it's a side to them that I've not seen whilst they were in school. So yeah, he's really enjoying it now.
It's interesting because from what I've known of Sophia, she is very adaptable.
Yeah.
And I don't think the situation would phase her. But it's interesting how you've noticed a bigger difference with the now that you're out of school. Because I imagine, like, I can think back to my teaching days and be like, I know Sophia would have been a delight to teach, and I know other tutors that work with your daughter, and like she is like a dream student. She just like start off with something and then she's like, oh, we can do this, oh, we can do that, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, let me just catch up. With that.
And before you know it, she's done like your lesson plan for you.
I was originally planning to do this, never mind, let's do this instead. So let's look at how does a home ed week look like for you personally in terms of
so obviously bearing in mind me and I still work, we still work full time, so we do have structure in place to manage the kids around that. But I work compressed hours, so I have Thursdays off. Nige works compressed hours and has Fridays off. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is very structured. We have tutors. Sophia has a few online lessons that she attends. So I've actually got a timetable here that I have for both of them. So this is Sophia's. And this is a timetable that I put together for 6th of January to the 28th of February. So I just do it every 2 months because we've got different topics each month. And it goes into detail in terms like Monday between 8 and 9, they've got to have breakfast, make the bed, brush your teeth, get dressed for the day, and then they do a diary entry. That's just something that they've wanted to do themselves. They write down in the diary what they did the day before. And that has been huge for Adam because he was described as a reluctant writer at school. And now he absolutely loves writing. He writes at any opportunity he gets, he writes. And I think it's because Sophia loves writing and Sophia's got this diary. He was like, well, I want my own diary. And he's got into writing himself. So that's been great. But then going back to the timetable, they have 9 till 10, they do French together. So that's like an online program and they test each other, which is lovely. Then they've got like their online lessons that they do. Adam, not so much because he's obviously a lot younger. There's things like lunch and take a break, maths work, human body work, little prompts for Sophia, like get your dance things ready because on a Wednesday she has dance. And then they also have a book that's got like usernames and passwords for those like online programs that we have to deliver some of the learning. And it's very much just like self-led Monday to Wednesday, with some input from us. Thursdays is very much like our day out where we go out and do things with other families. Fridays they very much do things outdoors with Nige. I do take flex leave sometimes from work on a Friday, so we'll try and do things as a family. But yeah, so we do have structure in place, but it's also quite if on a Wednesday, like Sophia's not feeling great, or she's like, I'm really not feeling learning today, it's like, fine, that's fine. You know, that's the joy of Poor Med, just take it easy today. Like today, she woke up and she's like, I've got creative writing today, which she absolutely loves, but she said, I'm not feeling doing any maths or anything. So I said, right, but she's just sat in bed reading for 3 hours. So I'm just like, you want to read for 3 hours? That's absolutely fine. And I think that's just the joy to Poor Med. We as adults know that I wake up sometimes, I'm like, I really can't be doing with like certain things today. I'm not going to do it. So I don't do it. And I just think we need to respect kids' choices in that sense as well.
Mm. And how have you found them being together all the time?
Amazing.
Has that been
Amazing. I felt like when they went to school, especially that term when Adam had started reception and Sophia was in year 3, they were bickering so much at home, and I think they were just tired from school. And I felt like they had lost that, not lost the sibling relationship, but I did feel like their relationship was a little bit strained because of the pressure of school and the pressure school was putting on us as a family, I think. And now I see them and I just think this is what brothers and sisters should be doing, literally playing together, giggling together, laughing together. And it's just, I feel like it's reassurance that I'm a good mum. I'm doing my job right. Do you know what I mean? In the sense that I see them just so happy together. And don't get me wrong, they still bicker, but it's over like silly things rather than like actual arguments.
Yeah, it was interesting when I went from the teaching to the tutoring side. Like, obviously, from the teacher's perspective, we have a lot of, well, I had a lot of pressure on us where we had to constantly engage with parents all the time. We had to do all these strategies. And, you know, if families didn't respond to it, like, we were essentially blamed. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to build up that relationship. But then, obviously, going into families' homes
Yeah.
and working with tutoring them, I saw the other side of that, like that pressure, like
Yeah.
of what
Yeah.
parents had to do on top of their normal life,
Mm,
and I was like, oh, this is like like most teachers wouldn't get that look, but because
yeah.
I saw that side, and I was like, oh, I'm seeing the impact of all that pressure, because like I get parents coming to me because of like the teacher, their child's teacher will say to them, oh, so and so is struggling with this, and of course the parents are really worried, really anxious, they seek support, and I now come from the other side, and it's been a real eye opener for me, which I
Absolutely.
don't see when you're on the other side of it, like at all. You don't see that as
Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting. So, what about your local home ed community? Is that quite active? Was that hard or easy to find to get involved in?
I think initially when we started home educating, a lot of people said to me like your community are going to be really, really important. You need to get in contact with people in your sort of like area. And they do play a big part in sort of our home ed life. We've made so many close friends now that I just think I don't know how we functioned without these people in our lives. I mean, like there's one family in particular, they might actually be watching this. They have been traveling for a couple of years and they put a post out on one of our local home ed groups saying we're looking to meet other families at home educate. We are here for around 3 to 4 months. I've got a daughter this age, a son this age. It'd be great to meet up. And I was just like, oh, you know, a family that have been traveling. It'd be nice to meet them and see what they've been up to. So I invited them to a meetup that we'll go into at a trampoline park on the Friday. And we spend pretty much 2 days every week with them now. They've just like the sort of family where we've just really, really clicked with them. The daughter and Sophia really, really get on. They've got an older son, and him and Adam, they just, even though Edward is 10 and Adam is 5, they just really get on and it's nice. The 4 of them together really get on. And then they've made some other really close friends as well within the home ed community. And we all sort of like just meet up, get together, like-minded parents, children of all different ages, abilities, but they just get on. They really bounce around. We've been to like loads of museum trips and loads of like educational trips together. I organise quite a lot of trips as well for our home ed community because I am, like you said, quite proactive with things like that. So we've got
Surprise!
um, This month we've got we're visiting a nature reserve towards the end of the month, and we're doing orienteering and environmental art. And there's around 25 kids, all age ranging from 5 right through to 13, I think is the eldest. Um, and we've done one of these before, and it was an amazing day. I mean, it's great for the adults as well. So it's just lovely for the adults to get involved in it as well. And then we've got another trip next month booked to go to a wetland centre, and we're looking at the water cycle. And then we've got another trip booked end of March, something to do with Shakespeare at one of like a it's like a stately home nearby, and they're doing some sort of tour on Shakespeare. But I just thought Shakespeare's lovely to read, and Sophia loves reading, so I thought it'd be great. And see if it's going to benefit my kids and the local home ed community. I'll put that time in. It's just a bit of admin. It's not a lot of work. But yeah, we've definitely met a lot of like-minded families, and it's just changed our complete outlook on life and like what's happening for us as a family next. And I just think that home ed community has just been crucial for us in the last 14 months.
Yeah, there's two things you've said that you kind of answered my question, because I thought, does someone take the lead, for all these events? And obviously you've taken that role naturally and it sounds brilliant. And then the different age group, because obviously in school you wouldn't have that, would you? All the children would be the same age.
Yeah.
Other families I've spoken to, they do say that kind of mixing with a variety of ages really helps, because then children can, whatever situation they're in, they've learned to be able to communicate with and adapt, and different children with different educational needs and that kind of thing. Have you found that with Sophia?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like you put Sophia in a group where she's the eldest, she will take that lead. She will be the leader, even though she's quite a shy person with children that she's never met before.
Right.
If you put in a group with different age groups and she's naturally the oldest, she will take the lead, and she's quite good at like looking after them as well. Put her in a group with younger ones, she'll quite happily let the older ones take the lead, and that'll be like her time to get involved in all the activities. It was very evident. They've been doing something called Commando Survival Skills. They've not been for a couple of months because it's just been too cold, and to be quite honest with you, I'm quite lazy. I don't want to be leaving at the house early mornings to drop them off. But they'll be going back there, and it's very much ex-army guys that are leading the program. It's all about survival, but they're in groups, mixed groups from like, I think the youngest is Adam, 5, and the eldest is 15. So Adam might be in a group with like 2 7-year-olds and the rest of them are teenagers, but there's absolutely no issues. There's no arguing. There's no bullying. They just get on with it. And the older ones naturally look after the younger ones. And I think it's that, it's like tribalism, isn't it? Like they just almost look after each other.
Yeah.
And I think we need more of that, because obviously just because you are at school, you're with like 28, 29 other children your age, but there's naturally going to be different abilities in that group. And I think that's where a lot of issues do start in a school environment.
Someone's just commented, home education is more acceptable now. It was frowned upon before. Oh, I honestly, I didn't even know about it before, so I don't know in my experience whether it was frowned upon. But yeah, it's definitely since lockdown we've got a much better understanding. Oh, there's Hannah. Hannah will just Sophia, and what an incredible student she is, how she always extends the learning in the lesson beautifully. And she says, I love the mixed age group thing. In real life we're always with mixed ages. Yeah, we are actually, aren't we? It's in many ways the school environment is so unnatural to real life.
Yeah, it is.
Ways it is, because obviously if you go into an office job, then you will be with people for that period of time, and you will have to sit and listen, and so it is it's definitely interesting. What about then what resources, websites, you've also obviously talked about your community, but resources and websites, like where have you found them? What have you found beneficial to you, just to help other home ed parents out, really?
So initially I signed up to Twinkle because everyone said that was like the thing to go to. Twinkle and £2 Tuition Hub, I was told that are the things that are really great for home educated families. I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't like either of them because I was like, this is just, it just felt too chaotic. And I felt like, even though I'm quite proactive, I'm quite lazy in certain like situations. I was like, I'm having to go looking for that information. That this is not what I need. I was like, I work full time, my husband works full time. I need something quite easy. I found something called Teaching Packs, and I paid £28 for the year,
Right.
and it's just amazing. You literally download a teaching pack. It'll give you like different age groups. You get like the teaching pages. You have like quizzes, word searches. There's like the one that they've uploaded this month is on teeth, so you learn all about teeth if you want to, which is great because we're doing a human body module at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's teaching. I think it's called teachingpacks.co.uk.
Yeah.
Um, and other resources. What I'm trying to think what we use. We have a lot of books that we use. We use Singapore Learning for Maths, which are like physical
Wow.
books.
Do you like that?
I love it. I love Singapore Learning because obviously you've got your physical books and you've got your workbook and your textbook. And I like the fact that even though it's topics, the topic that you move on to builds on your previous topic.
Right.
So you really can't move on until you've really grasped that concept of the previous topic. And I absolutely love that. So at the moment we're doing money with Sophia, and we've got like I exchanged £30 into like £20 note, and then I've got loads of change, and we've been playing shops. Everything's labelled in the house, and um, that is supported by the activities in the Singapore Learning Book. So I think that is great for maths.
Good. We actually introduced that one of the schools we did, but the problem was they kind of introduced it like when the children were like, oh, year 2, and so they weren't used to that way of learning.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
really it should have been introduced at the very beginning. And
yeah,
that's one of the things that I struggled with in schools. It's just that they got obsessed with like programs, and so
yeah,
and obviously with the pressure Ofsted, they want the results to be good. So everything was program based, phonics program, maths program, subject variety of subject programs. And like you said with Twinkle, you have to, from my, I pick and choose like what works for the children, that kind of thing. But when you're obviously a homemade parent, you've got your work and everything, you do have to streamline everything so that it
yeah,
is manageable. Because I do see posts from parents who get very, it's overwhelming. I do see quite common a post where their child is very distressed at school, and they think, right, I'm pulling them out, because obviously they don't want their child to be distressed,
yeah,
but they have only researched home ed, and how to do it. And sometimes it can be like even more stressful when you've done that, because you're like, well, what do I do now, what do I do? So
yeah. I definitely
yeah.
think it's not something you should just like decide to do overnight. You've definitely got to do your research and know what it's like for parents when you've just had enough of the school system and you just like, no, my child is not going back to school tomorrow. I've thought like that multiple times, but I do think home ed has been amazing for us, is amazing for us, but it does take a lot of organising. It does take a lot of like adjusting the way you think about things, and essentially you're taking on quite a big responsibility. You're taking on your child's education. And you do have a legal responsibility to provide a full-time education to your child if you choose home education. Um, so I don't think it's something that you should just decide to do overnight. I definitely think I don't see any harm in giving it a go. And if it doesn't work for you, there's no harm in sending your child back to school if they're all right with that. But I definitely wouldn't just decide, right, I'm doing it and pull the child out overnight.
Yeah, I think there's got to be a lot of consideration of how it'll work, what it'll look like for you, and you know, um, because I don't know if you've heard of Hannah Home Educate. Well, she was named Hannah Home Educate before. I don't know if she's
Yes,
now.
thriving with Hannah now.
That's the one. And
Yes.
I saying in one of her videos, you are responsible for
Yeah,
everything. Whatever
yeah, absolutely.
you do, you've got to sort it out. It's nobody. And again, I see posts like that from parents saying, what funding do we get, or what support do we get? And because you are taking on, I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but you are taking on full
You
responsibility, aren't you?
are, yeah,
So you have to, if you want your child to do anything, you've got to be the one to organise it and sort it out. And
yeah.
I can imagine that can be quite stressful, because if you've grown up going to school yourself and your family's used to your child going to school,
Yeah.
there's a lot more to it. How did your family react in the end?
So it's quite funny because we've got a family that work in schools. We've got family and friends that work in schools, and I expected them to react badly.
Okay.
But it's actually the ones that work in school that have been really supportive, and the ones that don't work in a school that are like, "What have you done? Like you're ruining your child's life." Um, and it was actually quite close family actually that said this, like, I can't believe you're doing this. And then they sort of not fell out with us, but distanced themselves for a few months. And then they saw the kids at Christmas, and they were like, "Oh, they're doing really well. Like, where's this confidence come from?" I was like, "Well, yeah, this is home education," and they've been like completely on board since then. But I do think it's hard for people to get their head around, and especially like people of a certain generation where it's like the norm for children to go to schools, the parents have to graft because they have this like mentality, don't they, where unless you work really hard and you're grafting, you're not really contributing to society. And I think a lot of people think that when you're home ed, you just don't work, but actually you do. You just you work it out for what suits you as a family.
Because a lot of parents I've worked with, like they do have to change their, like it's not a 9 to 5 job they do. They work at night, in the morning, weekends. You know, they do, if they're choosing this, they do whatever they have to do to obviously pay the bills. But it's not like a 9 to 5 job.
No.
It's totally flipped on his head,
Yeah,
and that's a big thing to get your mind around, and you know, change your life over really.
absolutely. I mean, a lot of people say to me, like, "I don't know how you do it." And I was like, "Well, some people don't realise that sometimes I'm working till 2 o'clock in the morning because I've got deadlines to hit. And I know that, well, I want my day off on a Thursday and I need to get this day. For me, it's more about the work rather than the hours. And if I've got deadlines, sorry, to hit and I've got things to do, then you just work all the hours. And I think it's a different kind of tired that I am now. I'm not tired. I'm not mentally drained. I'm just tired because I am working all the time. Even like the education aspect is working for me and for my husband as well because he does a lot of it. But it's a nice tired. Do you know what I mean? Because it's completely changed our lives in such a positive way that I don't mind being tired because I'm doing the best for my children. And like a lot of people say, oh, it's a lot to get your head around, and it is, but they're only young for. I just think like Sophia now she's 8, 3, 4 years time, she's going to be so independent and she's going to want to do things herself. And if I can give her another 3, 4 years of that one-to-one learning with us, why not? It's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make.
Do you think they'd ever go back to school, or do you think they'll stick with home ed?
I think Sophia definitely will be home ed. I've got a feeling Adam might want to start high school, but when it come for him to go to high school, I've got a feeling he might, and I think that's just because he's a boy, and I don't know. That's just me thinking that he might not, but I do think that he will probably want to be with like his friends a lot more when he's older.
Someone's just said, can I have the list of resources, please? So we mentioned Twinkle, and you mentioned, is it Teaching Pack?
Teachingpacks.co.uk, yeah.
Okay, and what was the third one?
Singapore Learning.
Singapore Learning.
And
That was the one.
I think the books are called No. Is it No Math? No.
No
Um,
Maths No Problem or something.
that's it. Maths No Problem. Yeah, and it's a UK version of Singapore Learning.
Ah, right. So if you could go back in time and you were starting your journey again, what would you do differently with Sophia? Or is there anything
I
that you?
think. Um, so I don't know if you've heard of the term unschooling.
Yes.
I think I would definitely spend a term or two unschooling and trying to get school not out of a system, that sounds a bit wrong, but try to break that routine of what school was. You wake up every day, you learn, you've got that structure. Because we did that with Adam.
Ah,
We very much did a very hands-off approach with him. and his love for learning. I mean, Sophia, she loves learning. I don't think it's impacted her at all, but I think it impacted me and Nige more than it impacted her. We've had a very hands-off approach with Adam, even like with his phonics. We've not signed up to any programs whatsoever. It's very much, we go to the library, we'll read some books, and his reading now is phenomenal. His writing is phenomenal, it's like for his age. And I do think it's because we've not been formally learning. It's very much an unschooling approach with him. And obviously, it's because he's 5, he doesn't need that formal learning just yet. As he gets older, maybe like when he gets to 7 or 8, we might take a bit more of a formal approach. But I definitely think if I was going back, definitely spend a term or two unschooling and just trying to introduce that learning through play again.
And for those, so what would so when Adam initially came out of school, what does that day of unschooling look like if we put it into context?
Very much learning through play. So a lot of people think you can't really learn whilst playing with Lego, for example, but you can learn so much playing with Lego, especially at that age. Like, you've got your colours, you've got sorting things out. He's learned his times tables through Lego. Um, his times tables are phenomenal. I mean, he knows more times tables than Sophia does, and that's because of Lego. It's crazy. And I will say to him, like, just simple things like making lines with your Lego, building models, like that in itself is like engineering and, designing aspects and being able to follow instructions. His sort of homeschooling, home educating experience is very much Lego based. I can tell you that for sure. And then it's very much a lot of Adam's sort of home education is doing things. So we do a lot of baking, a lot of weighing, measuring. He loves tools, so he's in Nigel's tool cupboard all the time. Like, oh, what can I do with this? What can I do with that? And we've given him like his own dedicated corner in the garden where he can go and build things with under supervision, obviously. So it's for Adam. He does do formal learning in terms of maths because we do Singapore learning with him, and that's because he loves maths and he loves worksheets. He loves sitting down with his worksheets. Only for maths though, nothing else. So for Adam, yeah, it's a very hands-off approach, and that works for him. But I don't think that approach would work for Sophia.
No, she's quite structured, isn't she?
She is, and she likes her. I'm writing a poem today and she likes to stick it up somewhere like that's my poem, or she's constantly writing a story or writing a diary entry and she's like that's my work for today. And like today, like she'll get up and she's like, right, I'm doing maths worksheets 18, 19, 20 today. I'm like, well, you only need to do one because it's quite a big one. And she's like, no, I want to do them 3. So I'm like, right, okay, you do them 3. She's a dream student in that sense.
Well, I know that just from working with them. I was going to ask you something else. It's totally gone from my mind. So, as soon as like Adam, when came home and was home educated, was it just like natural for him, or was he like,
yeah,
hang on a minute, what's going on?
No, no. I thought he would be a little bit like, well, when's it time to go back to school? But he wasn't phased at all. He's very much like just embraced home education so well. We walked past the school at one point because we were out walking, and I said to him, "Oh, do you want to go back to school? Like, do you miss school at all?" It's like, no. Just like, oh, okay. I genuinely did think he would miss seeing his friends every day, but then we have made an effort to keep in contact with a few friends that he was really close to, and they do come around for tea, and we meet up with them at the weekends and stuff. So maybe it's because he's getting that social aspect that he doesn't really miss it as much.
And how have those relationships kind of developed? Like, are they curious or they're not fussed? They're just mates, they're friends.
They're not bothered. I think so. Before we decided to home educate Adam and Sophia as well, I did actually have a conversation with the friends' parents, just to give you a heads up. Don't want it to come as a shock to your kids, but we are looking at home educating Sophia, home educating Adam, and I'd appreciate it if you'd have a conversation with the kids at some point because I didn't want it to come as a shock to them from the teacher. I wanted them to hear it from someone close to them. And Adam wasn't capable of saying, "Oh, I'm going to be home educated now." and the friendships that they wanted to keep, we've kept, and the parents have been on board. So, yeah, not really found it a problem.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So, just a couple more questions. Thank you very much for answering all my questions so far.
That's all right.
What advice would you give to a parent who is considering a home education but is quite unsure at this stage?
Um, well, first of all, I'm yet to meet a parent who's regretted doing home ed. Everyone I've spoken to who have done it, they're like, the only regret is not doing it sooner. And I think that's probably one of my regrets as well. I wish I'd have pulled Sophia out a lot earlier than we did. But someone who's thinking about it and really unsure, I think you have to do your research first. You have to do your research and you have to know what your legal obligations are when you are doing that. And I think a really good resource to do that through is, I think it's called Home Education for All on Facebook. They have podcasts as well.
Okay.
And it's basically a parent-led organisation, parents who've home educated for years, and they've got guides on there. There's podcasts. There's loads of advice on there that covers practically every single scenario that you might come across as a home educating family. And yeah, I just think you need to do your research and know what it entails and what that legal requirement is of you as a parent. But also, I think it's definitely worth checking out your local home ed community. What's on offer in your area? What do businesses in your area offer for home ed family? I mean, like we've got loads of. We go to Wacky World quite a lot. It's like a PE lesson for the kids, isn't it? Like trampolining, but it's £1. We go for £1 for 3 hours because for home educating families, they recognise that you're taking on that burden, the financial burden as well of educating your child. And it does cost quite a lot sometimes, like, you know, the things do add up. So a lot of local businesses do like, put on offers as well. So we go at least once a week and it's £1 for each child. And I just think you've got to know what's on offer and whether you can afford to do everything that you want to give your child if you choose to home educate.
The memes always make me laugh, you know, at the end of a holiday, and they do, sometimes it's like from the Wizard of Oz, and it's like, come out children, you can come out now.
Absolutely.
Because it's too busy in the holidays. I've seen loads of home ed parents online be like, it's too busy, we're staying in.
Yeah, it's half term next week, and I'm like, oh, we're not doing anything next week. We'll just do like play like stuff at home next week because I'm like, everywhere's going to be heaving.
Definitely. But thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. If anyone's got any questions, we'll just wait a minute. I know we've already had a few throughout, but it's been really, really interesting, and thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Chat to you again, and it was really beneficial for obviously those that are wanting to home educate. So, but I don't think anyone's got any questions, so I will leave it there, and thank you once again.
Amazing.
Please
take care. Bye.